Okay, good afternoon, everybody. So, this is the first installment of our brand new Future Ready Accountant series. So, thank you very much for being with us. Sorry we had to shift the date, but it's great to have you here with us. I'm really excited to be joined by Amanda C. Watts. So, we've done some webinars in the past, Amanda and I, but it's been a minute. So, I'm thrilled to have her back because we've recently done a report, the Future Ready Accountant report, funnily enough. And advisory is just one of those topics that is still being talked about. We've done various white papers and stuff in the past, like years ago, but it's really interesting that this is something that, is still there and people still need more advice on. So Amanda's the perfect person to have to give us some guidance on this. So as part of this webinar, you submitted your questions. We have had a look at it. We have tried to tailor our planned content. We're going to be looking at this topic from 5 different parts. So we'll be looking at defining advisory, structuring your offerings, looking at pricing, client relationships, and marketing as well. So we've done a little bit of prep, but this is very much a conversation between Amanda and I. Please do submit your questions at any time. Please do chat to each other. The chat's open, so speak to each other. And let's test that out, actually, see if you're with us. So please do say hello, tell us where you are in the country. Is the sun out? Is it raining? Is it cold? Let us know.
So it's definitely sunny here. I've just come back from a dog walk and it was lovely. It was perfect before the webinar. It was perfect. So
it's perfect refresh, isn't it?
exactly.
So yeah, please don't be shy. Please do say hello. And
hey, Jordan, that's awesome. Thank you.
Yeah. So Amanda, did you want to do a quick intro? So people who may not have heard of you, do you want to just give a little bit of background on your...
Yeah. 100%. What would be really handy before I do that is if people could tell me in the chat if they're an oldie or a newbie, right? So a newbie is you've got no idea who I am, you're brand new to my world. Oldie is you've followed me on LinkedIn, you've been to one of my webinars before, you've read maybe some of my books. So let me know in the chat box just so I know how to pitch this as well. Because sometimes when people come into my world, I might use language that they haven't heard before, and I just want to make sure that I don't kind of jump ahead. So it would be amazing. Are you oldies or are you newbies? Let me know in the chat box. That'd be super. So for those of you who don't know me, and this is your first time coming across me, which is amazing, I would like to say that my name is Amanda C. Watts, and I'm the founder of the Business Advisor Academy. And at the Business Advisor Academy, we take accountants, bookkeepers, CFOs, CPAs, and EAs, and we work with people to help you get super clear on what your expertise is when it comes to helping people with the numbers, with the finances. And we take that expertise and we package it up. We call it something called productizing. And we package it up and we productize your unique intellectual property. So we take your education, the essence of you, your experience, and we turn that into a business advisory offering. And then we help you create all the worksheets that you need to deliver advisory. We help you get clear on your soft skills and how you help people and how you communicate with people and how you get them to take action. So we kind of come at it from 2 angles of the head, which is all the creating of the product, and then the soft skills. So that's what we do at the Business Advisor Academy. I've got a couple of things. I've got a book, a Business Advisor Playbook, that goes alongside it, which at the end will show you how you can get a free copy of that. And I also have the Business Advisor podcast, which you're welcome to have a listen to, completely free on Apple, Spotify, and any of your chosen things. But what I am so passionate about is taking your expertise and enabling you to uncover the value and get paid your value, not your worth, because your worth is subjective, but your value. So that's what I'm super passionate about. And I love it. It's great.
Thank you, Amanda. We've got quite a few newbies here, interestingly. So welcome.
Yeah.
You're in for a treat.
Yeah.
So let's get started because we've got quite a few areas that we want to cover off. So I think to start with, Amanda, how do you begin to define your advisory services within your accounting practice?
Yeah, it's a really good question. So I would say very much that, first of all, advisory is everything outside of compliance, because people say to me, what is advisory? And I know that sounds really obvious, but I see too many accountants and bookkeepers doing way too much advisory for free, thinking that that's part of their job. And it's not. Their job is to balance the books, make sure the VAT return's done, and make sure the year end is done. Anything, if a client phones up and says, hey, can you sign my mortgage agreement? That is moving into advisory territory. Hey, I don't understand my numbers. Can you just explain to me? It won't take you long. It's only 10 minutes. And you go, yes, of course. And you explain it. Or you have the year end meeting and you spend an hour and a half to 2 hours with a client going through the stuff and you haven't incorporated that in. That is the start of very, very basic advisory. However, advisory in general is about you having certain conversations with clients. So I'd like you guys to imagine a triangle and split it into 4 different levels. At the bottom, you have the compliance technician of this triangle, right? Then you have consultant, then you have advisor, then you have the word mentor. So I'm just going to explain those different levels and where advisory fits in. So at the bottom, you've got the compliant technician, which is you being an accountant or a bookkeeper doing the work for your clients. The next level up actually is consultant. And consultant is where you're doing a bit of the work for the clients and also you're doing some of the work yourself, the extra work that they want, and giving a bit of advice around it. But a consultant is more like a CFO role than an advisory role, okay? Then the next level is advisory, and advisory is more like coaching. It's actually asking the right questions to help your clients get clarity and giving a bit of advice around how you translate the numbers. And then right at the top of the triangle is the word mentor, and that's where you maybe work with builders, for example, and you've run a building company yourself and you show them how to have a really successful building company. Now, unless accountants and bookkeepers are advising other accountants and bookkeepers, you're probably going to stop at the advisory level, and that's absolutely fine. And advisory, for how we teach it, is about having 3 very important conversations with your clients, right? So the first one is the money conversation, and you totally own this. It's like how to save tax, how to make more profits, looking at revenue, what happens if they cut these costs, how to actually take money out of the business, how to actually plan to pay off your mortgage. That's a really good money conversation, right? I want to pay off my mortgage in 5 years. My accountant needs to tell me how to do that and how my business can support me with that. So that's like the money conversation. Then we have the strategy conversation, and the strategy conversation is looking at the big picture. Do they want to exit? What is it that they want to have happen in their business? Do they want to work less hours? Do they want to take on a big team? What's that big picture strategy, which the accountants can have those conversations as well? And then you have the future conversation. So what do you want your future to look like in your business? And one thing that underpins all of this is people's personal lives. So when you step into advisory, you're very much aligning people's personal lives with their business a lot of the time. Like 90% of accountants and bookkeepers are going to work with owner-managed businesses, right? So if you run an owner-managed business, you tend to do it to give you a great personal life rather than running it to exit it. So few people sell their business, right? So you have to think that when you're offering advisory, you're working with the owner who manages the business, who is running the business to give them a great personal life. And that's where that underpins. So you've got the money conversation, the strategy conversation, and the future conversation. Get those 3 conversations right, which is mostly about asking questions. Underpin it with people's personal lives as well as their business lives, and you're going to be an awesome accountant. You're going to change lives. Simple as that. There you go. Does that help? Does that help? Question?
How can I pay off my mortgage in 5 years? I wish that was the case for me. I really do.
Right? Yeah, but okay. So, Steph, I'm sorry, you started it, so I'm going to talk about it. You're an employee, right? So you don't have your own business, which means that your money-making decisions are pretty easy. You know how much is coming in. You don't have to worry necessarily about bringing in the clients. You do your job, you get your money at the end of the day. Business owners have a completely different way of functioning. They end up setting up a business because they have this dream of working less and earning more, or they want to make a big impact in the world. They end up working more and earning less majority of the time. Okay, so the dream of paying off the mortgage, whilst you're an employee, you know, I'm going to be employed for 20 years and I can pay off the mortgage. If you've got a mortgage for 20 years as a business owner, you wake up every day going, shit, I need to get clients. I need to get more money out of the business. I'm really scared. I can't afford my tax. And there's so much stuff going on that the business owner needs grounding and needs that advisor to go, breathe. Magic is in the data. Let's look at the data. Let me ask you some questions. Where are you now? Where do you want to be? What do we need to do to get you to where you want to be? And breathe. And an accountant and a bookkeeper is in the perfect position to ground that business advisor that is in panic mode, probably almost every day. And those who are on the call today, let's not tap into ourselves. I bet they feel like that sometimes too, right? Where's my next client coming from? I'm really stressed. I've got to wear this hat. I've got to wear that hat. I've got to do this, right? So you are your best client. What would you advise you? Take that and advise your clients around it. Yeah, there you go.
There you go. There's something for me to think about. So you've kind of you've talked about the pyramid. So what's the best way for people to identify any kind of niches that they can tap into? How do they align their services with their client base?
Yeah, so 6-7 years ago, I would have said, oh, we must industry niche, right? So we must either work with marketers or lawyers or dentists, or let's make life really, really easy and just completely industry niche. However, the world has changed and there are more businesses, there are more coaches, there are more advisors, there are more specialists, there are more people out there all vying for the same client, that actually we are better off becoming an expert at something and either becoming an expert and choosing a niche. So a little bit like I do, I'm really good at helping people become amazing advisors by packaging up and productizing them. But I work with accountants and bookkeepers. I also work with consultants, okay? But that's a separate thing. Like the accountants and bookkeepers don't even know that. They do now, but they don't know that, okay? And the consultants aren't bothered by the fact that I work with accountants and bookkeepers. But my specialism is all about productizing, systemizing, and scaling an advisory or consulting offer. So when accountants and bookkeepers think about niching, what is the thing that they're really good at? So I was speaking to my client, Emma, this morning, and she loves cleaning up messes. Okay. Really interesting. I bet out of the people who are on here today, I reckon one person gets any pleasure from that. Everybody else is like, you can have the mess. I hate cleaning up messes. Please take that. So she's going to work on productizing cleaning up messes so that she can then really streamline what she's doing, have it all systemized. So then when she finishes doing that, she can move into advisory, but she can clear up messes of everybody. Her expertise is the messing. Other people really good at payroll. Other people awesome at helping people exit in the next 5 years. So you can either niche on industry or you can niche on specialism or you can niche on both together. I love both together because it's really cool to do your marketing, to be able to create stuff that resonates. Like being here today, if I wasn't a specialist in the profession, they wouldn't listen. Like you guys wouldn't listen to a word I say. They'd be like, oh, this person, they don't know accountants. Accountants are different, right? So that's the power of niching, is the moment you show up in a room where someone sees you as an expert for that profession, everybody goes, I'm going to listen because I trust you. Okay. So when you think about niching, first of all, who do you like to work with? Who do you love? Who can afford to pay you? And who can you help? They're the three key things. And then when it comes to marketing, if you're not going to market locally and go networking and do all that kind of thing, and you're going to do digital marketing, can you find them online? Like they're the key things for finding a niche, I would say. And it works. Yeah.
And looking at your data, who is your audience? Who can you target?
Yeah. And also, like, some of you will be like, oh, I've only ever done compliance. And this is my client this morning, actually. She was talking and saying, oh, I've only done compliance. I don't know what advisory to offer. And I said, okay, so who's on your list? So I've got a process where we work out and we get a list of top people. And the people that were on her list, she was like, I don't feel very drawn to them. The people at the bottom of the list, I do feel drawn to, which are doctors and lawyers, right? But she says they don't have a lot of money. What we have to understand is that if you are going first into advisory and you've not done it before, you don't necessarily want to go into a business where you're advising 6 or 10 CEOs around a room. That's really scary. So sometimes when you niching on the smaller businesses to start with to build your credibility and your expertise is a really good place to start. So your data might say that you do compliance for big businesses, but actually when it comes to advisory, you might want to take it down a notch. I don't want to discourage people, but if you take it down a notch, you can build your credibility and your experience, and then you can hold a room, because advisory actually is about giving space for people to make decisions. And if you do advisory and you have 6 or 10 decision makers in a room that you're giving advice to, that's really hard work. So working with an owner managed 1 or 2 person business is a really good place to start with advisory, just to practice, unless you have a specialism that you're an expert at, right? Makes sense?
Yeah. And when we're thinking about structuring your offering, one of the things that kind of came out from the questions that were submitted is, should it be time-based or should it be value-based?
Neither. Okay. Neither time-based or value-based. All right. So time-based is where you say, right, I'm going to spend an hour every week with you and I'm going to charge £200 for that hour. So advisory is £800 a month, right? The problem with that is you're getting paid to sit there, and what you're doing with the client might not be great, right? But you're getting paid for that time. Or alternatively, the work that you do with the client is so amazing that you're undercharging because you're charging by the hour. So to charging by the hour, no thank you. Value-based pricing is about very much like, I will bring this much value to you and I value myself. This is what value pricing is often about. I value myself at this price. So I'm going to say that we're going to charge £1,500 a month to work with you, right? But what I like is transformational pricing. And transformational pricing is, you have clients that hopefully and sadly are in a valley of despair. I call it like the valley of despair. So they're going through a problem, they've got something that needs fixing, or they have a dream or an aspiration that they just can't achieve, right? They're stuck. It's bad where they're at. You then want to take them to the mountain of success. So the mountain of success is, in 3 years' time, you're going to be in this place if you follow. And then what you do is you create a process, a productized process. So it's very well systemized, it's very well organized, it's very structured, you know it works, and you sell the transformation. So a lot of people sell advisory of, oh, I can offer advisory that is 2 calls a month and do this, and it's £2,000 a month. No, what we do is we say, we're going to work together for 3 years to achieve this outcome. The investment will be around 120 grand. First of all, we're going to have a workshop, and that's going to cost you 10 grand down payment. And then it's going to be £2,000 a month or something like that. But you sell a 3-year transformation of what you do, rather than just go, I'm going to talk to you twice a month and it's going to cost you £2,000 a month. Okay. So that's kind of value based, is I'm going to speak to you twice a month. Time based is, I'm worth £200 a month. Transformation is, this is a long journey we're going to do, or it could be a short journey. You could have a 3-month transformation. You could have a 3-day transformation, but you sell on the outcome and how you change their life, and taking them from the valley of despair to the mountain of success.
Yeah, that's really interesting. And if people were wanting to look at like different packaging of it, are there different kind of service tiers that they could look at? And, what could they include in that kind of package?
Yeah. So we're not talking compliance, we're talking advisory, which means that it's not different service tiers, it's different delivery models. All right. At the end of the day, when you're doing advisory, you're not going to go, oh, I'm not giving you that piece of advice because you haven't paid me enough. You're not going to do that. So what we do is we look at delivery mechanisms. So are you going to be delivering advisory on ongoing subscription base? Are you going to deliver advisory on a 3-month program? Are you going to leverage your advice and combine it with training and maybe group? Okay. So what we do is we actually I call it a signature methodology. It's a signature system. And we take the signature system and we create the transformation from valley of despair to mountain of success. And then we package it in different ways. So prime example is this book. If you buy it, is, I don't know how much, I think it's 20 quid. I think that's how much I charge for it. So that would be a productized offer. It takes my methodology and it's productized it into a book. You can do this as a program, right? And that's another amount. Or you can work with me one-on-one, and that's another amount. But at the same time, the transformation is always the same. It just depends how much access you get to me and how it is delivered. So what we really want to do when it comes to advisory is not sell time, not sell fluff, not sell value of, oh, it's going to be really valuable to talk to me. It's the transformation, and we deliver the transformation in different ways. So we don't have bronze, silver, gold. We have a book, we have a VIP day, we have a course, and we have one-on-one. Okay. So it's not bronze, silver, gold. It's exactly the same thing delivered in different mechanisms.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it really does. And so what steps can accountants take to set the clear expectations for clients? So what you were talking about before, like maybe they've had this advice in some way for free for a little while. Yeah. And it's managing that transition to, no, actually, this is advisory and I'm now charging you for this.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have to switch the client's mind. And they've been really lucky today because they've had loads of free advice, right? Sadly, any advice you've given them, they probably haven't taken action on, because there's a saying, when you pay attention, right? When your clients aren't paying for advisory, they probably, if they're anything like me, give £2,000 a month to a business coach and takes all the action that they tell them to do. The business coach can't have that money conversation, right? Because they've got no idea around the money. So they come to you for the money conversation, and then they go back to the business coach to sense check it. All right. So they're getting the free information from you, but they're not paying attention because they're not paying you. They're only paying you for compliance, and they're going to the business coach and paying them. I've forgotten your question. I went down that route. I can't remember what the rest of the question was.
It's about setting expectations. So yeah, changing that mindset of the customers.
So what we have to do is we have to give the clients something to make them sit up and go, oh, I didn't know that you did that. Okay, even though you've been doing it for free. And this is the power of productizing. So taking your education, your experience, and turning it into what we call a modeled offer. So it's a modeled offer with key milestones in it and strategies. And you sit down with your client and you go, hey, we've got this brand new service line, and you would be a perfect person for me to talk to about it. I would love to share it with you. Have you got 15 minutes next week? And they'll go, yeah, I've got 15 minutes. And then you sit down and you unpack this offer and say, this is what we're doing. This is why we're doing it. This is what happens if you don't do it. This is what happens if you do it. And you work through this modeled offer. And at the end of it, they go, oh, that looks amazing. Can I have it? And you go, I've only got space for 2 or 3 people. Let me have a look. I think you'd be a good fit. This is the investment. Do you want to start now? And they'll say yes. And you go, yay. And then you've made money. All you've done is take all of your advisory and know exactly what the client needs. And this is the power of understanding their fears and their frustrations and knowing what their problems are, because you can then create a solution to that makes them go, oh, that model looks good. I want some of that. If you show someone a model, they want to buy it, right? It's like, I want that. That's my solution. Yeah.
Have you seen many kind of mistakes being made by accountants and like how they're structuring it?
Not when they work with me, because I've got it very step by step. I see a lot of people not going deep enough. So when I say you need to create a model and you need to have a step-by-step process, they go, oh, right, okay, so they need a business plan, they need tax strategies, they need KPIs, they need this, and they just fire hose all these different strategies without sitting down and thinking, actually, is that adding value? How does that add value? How will I deliver that? Where does that get delivered? Does it get delivered first, second, third? Is it really needed? Is it actually compliance? There's so many questions. And then when you've got like a 5-step, 9-step, 20-step process, it's like, actually, is there value there? Or am I just doing actions? What's the transformation? So it's very easy to say, I've got this 5-step process, but does that 5-step process transform lives? And do you know how to create the worksheets and articulate it? We have something called a delivery snapshot, and I get my clients to do, well, one of them's done 150 of them. And a delivery snapshot is a way of explaining each part of anything to do with the numbers and strategy in the future. So where I talk about, doing advisory, it can be very easy to sit there and be the expert and use language that your clients don't understand. So you need to be able to articulate very clearly in very basic language. I always say you have to write for 7-year-olds because your business owners are 7-year-olds. They are. So
no, I think it's a fair comment. Jordan's actually sent in a question. So he said, where you're offering a one-off piece of advice, say personal inheritance tax planning, rather than a service over a period of time, how would you determine a value for the advice there when you're quoting?
Yeah, so the thing is with that is you need to first of all take into consideration who is it that you're advising. Okay, because if you're advising someone who is super wealthy and is going to make or save a fortune from the work that you're doing, you're going to price that in a different way from if you were going to advise a startup who has a house that's worth 100K and they're going to pass it along. It's going to be very quick. So I think you've got to look at the person that you're advising, how much money you're making or saving. Okay. And also the other thing that's really important is, are you a specialist in that? Because if you're a specialist, then you will charge more. It's as simple as that. How have you positioned yourself in the hearts and minds? And I talk a lot about my clients being vital, which stands for valued, impactful, trusted, agile, and lucrative. So are you valuable to your client? Are you creating an impact in their life? Do they trust you? Are they going to take action? Are you proving that you're agile and up to date? And are you making or saving your clients money? If you are vital, you could charge thousands for something like that. If you're just the local bloke down the road and you're hoping to do a piece of work on the side of compliance, you're not going to charge as much. You sadly, the person who is better at building a brand can charge 10 times the person who might be better at delivering the product. That's the way it works. The marketer always wins.
Yeah,
you've got to work on your branding.
Yeah, there's a couple of comments in the chat as well about a 3-day transformation question mark. Is transformational pricing non-recurrent?
Yeah.
Once the transformation's over, are you out of work?
No, right? Problems always happen, okay? So I worked with my clients originally for 6 months. We have this certification. At the end of that, they are super clear on their advisory offer. They've productized it. They know what marketing they should be doing. They know how to articulate what they do. And then they go, oh, I don't believe. And I go, great, then go into my next program. So what you do is, unless you're doing exit planning, and then you'd be out of work anyway, right? Unless you want to go into consulting in a different way. So once they've exited, you then create a product for those who have exited and what to do with their money. You'd probably work with an IFA to do that. But unless you're doing exit planning, there's always a bigger problem. The only caveat to that is you have to know how to help them with the next problem. So say you work with a startup business and you get them to 200K, and then you start having a panic attack because your business doesn't earn 200K and you don't know how to help them, then you are going to come unstuck. But you can sell 6 months and then another 6 months and then another 6 months, and you'll learn and you'll evolve with your clients. So I'm sitting here and I would hand on heart say I have a blimmin' awesome product and I am an expert. Ask me 6 years ago, I'd be like, yeah, it's okay. Yeah, it's good, right? I've had to work with so many clients to get to this stage. So the question that Matthew's asking really is null and void because you haven't done the first bit yet. Worry about the second bit once you've done the first bit. Really be awesome and transform their world in the first bit. Get a great reputation. You might not need to take them into the next product because they're going to have such a great transformation. You're never going to run out of leads because you're awesome at what you do. So worry about the current problem, not the bit where you might solve such a great big thing that they, what a great problem to have is, I can't help you anymore. I've made your life amazing.
Yeah, it seems unlikely. And like, you're going to be building that relationship with that client. So you're going to get to know, and you can probably even see ahead as well, can't you? Just being proactive, like, this is what I'm helping with you now, but maybe this is what you need to consider in the next period of time that you're working with them.
Yeah. And one of the things that we do
with each other, aren't you? Like you say.
Yeah. And when we do advisory, you're not there going, this is how to use Xero. Okay. That's not what advisory is. That's just showing someone how to use Xero. What we're doing is we're asking them questions about where they want to go, what kind of life they want to have, what they need. And we have to keep them accountable for that. And people will pay for accountability. Okay, so you speak to someone twice a month, right? One could be looking at the management reports and talking about their goals and KPIs. The other one could be, hey, just checking in for 10 minutes, everything on course. Have you done everything you need to do? What do you need? And like super quick, like accountability call. That's what advisory is. Don't overthink it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like when you're talking about, different sizes of business that you're interacting with, like, have you got any kind of examples of like flexible payments that we should consider at all?
Yeah. I love that question. There's a myth about recurring revenue, right? And when one has recurring revenue, which works very well actually for an accounting business with compliance, right? I'm talking advisory, I'm not talking compliance, okay? So when you have recurring revenue on advisory, say you have them on a retainer, unless you sign someone up for 12 months and you're going to take them to court if they don't pay, you will find that they'll send you a message on the 31st of the month with the payment coming out on the 1st going, hey, do you know what? Actually, I don't want to carry on with the advisory. You will get churn, even if you're the best in the world. Life happens for your clients. So a lot of people are like, yay, get people on subscriptions, get them paying every single month. That's great for a SaaS product. That's great for compliance because they need it and they have to keep it. Advisory, unless you are really changing their world, sometimes will be like, actually, $2.5 grand a month, I need to put a pause. And they'll ask to pause if you have it on recurring. Okay. So my advice is, say you're going to set someone up and say, we're going to work together over 3 years. Every 12 months, we're going to invoice you for 15 grand, and you can either pay it in one go or you can pay it over 2 installments. That's a great way to do it. I would rather, and this is my personal preference, I'd rather have money in the bank and sort out my own cash flow and split that over 12 months than be chasing money and have to pay for transactions every single month and reconcile my bank and get my bookkeeper to do it. I'd much rather have the money up front. So if you're going to work with someone for 3 years, you can seed that it's going to be 18 grand a month for 3 years or 18 grand a year for 3 years. And you can either pay 9 grand and 9 grand, or you can pay 15 grand in one lump sum. And that's great. You have money in the bank. Then you plan out your entire year's worth of advisory dates where you're talking to people. You know exactly what's happening. It's process driven. It's productized. It's awesome. And you got money in the bank and you don't have cash flow issues.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's always this question about not undervaluing advisory services. So is there any advice you can give on that?
Yeah, so accountants can have a really nice life if they earn 500k in revenue, 200k take home after tax, and deliver in about 10 hours a week. So that's the model that I tend to work with clients. So to get 500k in revenue, you can either have 40 clients paying you $1,000 a month. You can have 21 clients paying you $2,000 a month. All right. So you can have a certain number of clients, but what is the key thing is productizing it so that delivery is about 10 hours a week for delivery. Okay. Most people think that when they run a business, they go into one of two camps. One is, oh, I only need about 100 grand, which if you think small like that, you end up taking not a lot of money out of the business and only earn about 20 grand after tax, right? That's the problem. Or they go, oh, I should be running a 1 or a 2 or 3 million pound business. And they strive for what I call a monster business with too many clients and not enough profits. So that's why I like to talk about the 500-10 model, which is 500k in advisory revenue, 10 hours delivery. You can double that. You can do $1 million and have 20 hours delivery. I've done it. Some of my clients have done it. Some of my other clients use that model to get themselves to 200k and get their life back, right? Because that's the one thing that you can't buy more of, which is time. So you have to create the right business model so you can have time in your life. And that is advisory. It's not compliance. The most difficult thing in the world to do is hire team. And you need team to grow a compliance-based business. You do. It's as simple as that. And offshoring and outsourcing and AI are the answer to team, but you're still struggling. It's still struggle. So advisory is the way forward.
Yeah, absolutely. So talking a bit more about relationship building. So, I mean, we know that for the people who are thinking about MTD, you're going to have a lot more touch points from next year, right? To be speaking to customers. So What would your advice be about creating an effective communication kind of plan with to build these client relationships for these new services?
Yeah, I'm a bit nervous, to be honest, because if they have to speak to their clients 4 times a year, they're going to do it for free, aren't they?
Yeah, that's the danger.
Yeah, right. Absolutely, it's going to be done for free.
Mm.
And we are going to see everyone overworked and even more underpaid. So you have to take charge now and say, with Making Tax Digital, you have two options. We're either, because we're having 4 touch points, not no touch points or one touch point, you have to now use that as a reason to increase your prices. And I would also make sure that when you do that, you say the reason why we're increasing is because we're going to be speaking for 2 to 4 hours a year on top of what we normally do. There, you might have to actually just charge by the hour. So you might have to say like it's an extra £500 a year or something. But that is all about processes. It's all about having systems in place. It's making sure everything is in place so that you minimize the amount of time that you need to be chasing clients and have those conversations and get them organized, because it's going to be hard not to do the work and not charge for it, because we go into the, oh, but it's not their fault. I need to help them. I want to be loved. I need to show value. It's okay. It's not their fault. They need to pay for it, right? Someone's got to pay for it. And if they don't, you do. Sorry, I feel very strongly about it. I'm quite nervous.
I think it's about setting that expectation now as we're gearing up for it as well.
Absolutely, 100%. Like everybody should be talking about it now with their clients and say things are going to change. The whole profession has changed. So you need to be educating that how you used to communicate with them is definitely going to change. And with that comes a change in investment. We will see businesses very happily spend thousands of pounds on marketing and go, oh, but I can do my own bookkeeping, and everything turns to rubbish. I have friends that owe the tax man like 50 grand who can't pay their tax bill next month. Whose fault's that? Is that their fault, or is that their accountant's fault for not educating them? Because they don't understand. You've got all these marketers out there saying, get more leads, make more money. And they're really good at educating the market. Whereas accountants are going, oh, I don't do marketing. That's not my thing. But by not doing marketing, we're not educating our audience, which means that they are struggling and they don't see the value in having an advisor. So they give their money to marketers and business coaches. That's not what they should be doing. They should be giving money to advisors.
Yeah, absolutely. And just thinking about like how do people personalize their services to connect with their clients on a much deeper level and remain competitive, because there's a lot of they need to differentiate themselves, right?
Yeah, right. So there's 3 brands that will enable you to actually have success with your clients. You have a product brand, you have a business brand, and you have a personal brand. I'll use Richard Branson as an example. Richard Branson, personal brand. We love him, right? Don't we? He's kind of cute. He shows us pictures of his beautiful island and how he plays tennis with his sons, right? So we buy into Richard Branson. Then we have his product brand, which could be Virgin Airways, right? If we fly Virgin, do you know what? I quite like his product. I like Virgin Airways. He brought out, I want to say Virgin Trains, but he brought out a product that was rubbish, and we didn't like it. But we forgave him because it was Richard Branson and he pulled it, and that was okay. We forgave him, right? And then you've got the business brand, which is Virgin as a whole. So the thing that really differentiates is not the business, because on the surface, the business brand always looks the same. The only thing that's different about a business brand is the logo, the values, and kind of like, I don't know, like what the website looks like. That's the business, right? And sometimes your case studies and testimonials. You've then got your personal brand, which is where people fall in love with you. They get to know you, like you, and trust you. And we've got lots of people on the call today. Half the people are going to be going, oh, do you know what? I love what Amanda's saying. The other half are going to be going, nah, don't like it, not listening, like that, right? So that's where we start to get buy-in, okay? And then you've got the product brand. So then some people might go, do you know what? I don't like what Amanda's saying, but I'm intrigued. I want to find out what her product is, what her offer is. So I'm going to inquire and find out. If I can get a 10 out of 10 on people trust my business, 10 out of 10 people trust my product, and 10 out of 10 people trust me, I have an absolute bulletproof strategy for keeping my clients for the rest of my life. And what happens is people come to me for my product, they stay with me for my personality, and they talk about me because of my business. Right?
Yeah.
So that's what you need to focus on when you're running your accounting firm. And all too often, we have sold on the fact that you can type into Xero and say accountant in Kent, and 237 accountants come up. And it's like you just work your way through. What's your price? What's your price? What's your price? What is your price? Right? So now accountants have to create the product brand, create the business brand, and create the personal brand. That's how you keep clients for a mighty long time. And I've had clients that have stayed with me since 2015, 2016. They'll never leave because price is right, transformation is right, and I'm right.
Yeah, absolutely. And Jordan's just put a nice thing in the chat to say, if the service delivery is good and the client appreciates the work we do, then the conversations about fees going up are much easier in those circumstances.
100%. And what was really interesting is I've had my bookkeeper reprice my services. It's actually come in cheaper, because she's using, and actually we can talk about the tools that we use to deliver advisory, but she's using some tools to deliver her compliance stuff. And that means that she's streamlining what she does. And it's actually coming cheaper than it was. Like, not a lot, like a few quid, but I was like, she's repriced. Oh, it's cheaper. Okay, great. Awesome. Right. So actually doing this repricing malarkey, you might find that your compliance might get cheaper because we've got AI, we've got tools, we've got bot, we've got outsourcing. And that gives us then the opportunity to do the value add, the transformation add with the advisory side of things.
Yeah, that's the big message from Waters Clear as well. Our software, it's fully integrated. It's, we're building it with customers in mind. We've got all the customer user groups and beta groups helping us with that to make sure that we're delivering workflows that give you time back. And I think that's really important, right? If you can get your compliance ticking along, automated as much as possible, then that really does free up your time to do this really more exciting, high value quality work for clients.
I just want to pick up, right? You say it's more exciting. For some of the people today, it's terrifying. It's absolutely terrifying because, the reason why most accounting firm owners own an accounting firm is because they like to sit behind the desk and do the work, right? They didn't go into business to run a business. They went into business to get their time back, make more money, and do what they love, which is the accounts. So what we have to do with advisory is lead from the heart. And this is, fortunately, accountants tend to be really nice people. So you want to help, and it's lovely. You lead from the heart, and you have to practice your soft skills. So one of the things that we do in the academy is we show you how to have conversations, because it's fear that stops you from offering advisory, not lack of knowledge. You've got all the knowledge. It's how to have the conversations. And that's really cool. So as long as you've got a good heart and you've got experience, you can be an advisor. You just need to practice your soft skills, your listening skills, your speaking skills, how to articulate transformation, how to keep people accountable. All of that can be learned. You can learn those soft skills. So please don't be scared. You've got Waters Clear who can systemize all the compliance, move into advisory, learn how to do it, right? Learn the skills, learn how to build templates and worksheets. Okay. Yeah.
Bridget's just put express passion across the brand. Love that.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. That really sits with me. I love it. Yeah.
And, in doing this, you're going to build much longer lasting relationships with your clients and hopefully reduce your churn because you're adding so much more than you previously were. Yeah.
I remember, and this doesn't happen so much anymore. So back, I won't tell people my age, but I'm old. But back in the early 1980s, I used to go with my grandfather to his IFA. So we lived in Croydon, and we would go to West Wickham, and we would get on. No, grandfather would drive. We would drive. We'd park in the Sainsbury's car park, and we'd go across to go and see his IFA. And we'd go up these stairs, and the IFA, I'd sit there, and he'd give me a sweet, and I'd have this beautiful jellied sweet. It was lovely. I loved it. It was the highlight of my day. And grandfather would sit there, and he would have a conversation with his IFA. Now, at the time, I was like 5 years old. I remember it really clearly. Whenever grandfather had a problem, he'd turn to his IFA. That was a trusted advisor for him. Okay. Whether or not it should be, it's a whole other thing. But that's what the relationship that accountants should have with their clients that they don't have. So you know, where grandfather was talking to the IFA, you want the equivalent talking to you. Okay, you might team up with IFAs to help advise around wealth. That's a really good idea. I highly recommend that. That's a great added tool to your advisory back belt. But you want to have, in 40, 50 years' time, a little girl telling the story of how she used to go with her grandfather to their accountant and sit and get the jelly sweet and have the advisory conversation. Doesn't happen anymore. Doesn't happen anymore. Where did we lose relationship building? We lost it when everything became digital. We still need relationships. It's still key. It's so important.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know this is like a shift for people. So have you got any advice for how they handle maybe more challenging clients when they're trying to establish this new service and relationship with them?
Yeah. So what do you mean by more challenging? Are you talking personality or what they need help with? What do you mean?
I guess when people are thinking about shifting their business model, sort of moving more into advisory, and if they, I guess if they get some pushback on that from clients, but they can see the real potential, and
Mm-hmm.
that's the reason that they're having that conversation. Like, how would you kind of give advice about how to handle that?
Yeah. So, first of all, we have to approach conversations like this from a place of non judgment, because if the advisor is ready to step into being an advisor, so if the accountant's ready to step into being the advisor, they have probably been gearing themselves up for 6 months or a year and getting themselves to that stage. Then you're going to go and say to your client, hey, I've got this great idea, and this is the first the client has heard of it. If you have not built a brand where you are seen as the trusted advisor before you have that conversation, be expected for them to go, that sounds expensive. I don't think I need it.
Mm.
Okay. So the answer is you need to build your credibility as a trusted advisor before you sell something. So if you are thinking now about moving into advisory, if you're seriously thinking about doing it and you don't know what you're doing and you're not ready to even inquire or become certified or anything like that, start looking at how you can give advice through your marketing, not through one-on-one conversations and giving it away for free. I mean, create something once and share it with the world and position yourself as an expert so that when you have that conversation, people already are pre-sold and they're not surprised by that conversation, because it's taken you 9 months to a year, right? It's a bit like being pregnant. You have this idea, you don't know the right word. I was going to say digest the idea, gestate the idea. That's the word I'm looking. You gestate the idea for 9 months and then boom, I've got this advisory offer. Do you want to buy it? And people are like, I didn't even know you were pregnant, right? I didn't even know. You're sharing this stuff. Whoa, you're scaring me. Like, I know. Okay. So what we do whilst we're pregnant for those 9 months, we start talking about how we're coming up with these ideas and transformations, all that kind of thing. Give it away through content so it can be repurposed. Okay. And then sell. Bridget's laughing. Yeah.
Yeah, that's an interesting example, but it makes complete sense.
Yeah.
So moving into marketing, I know we've done sessions on this before with you, and you spoke about content there. So are there any kind of examples of what you've seen people creating content? Because that can be a bit of a scary thing as well, like, being a bit more vocal on LinkedIn, like creating blog content, like any kind of examples or ideas you have there for people to
Yeah.
get.
Be kind to yourself, but don't make excuses for yourself.
Mm.
So when you're clear, it takes away the fear. And the thing that stops people from creating content is they have no idea what they're talking about and they don't have any validation that it's any good and nobody's told them what to say. And they're like, oh, I've watched other people and it doesn't get traction. So they'll be watching all these accountants on LinkedIn posting stuff and it's not working. And they're like, oh, there's no point. Nobody's commenting, nobody's seeing, right? So the thing that we have to do is get clarity on what your expertise and your experience is. And then we just turn the dial up on that. One thing I would say is every single client I've ever got has come in some form or another I can trace back to LinkedIn. Even you and I being on this conversation today, Steph, is because you saw me or Waters Cluer saw me on LinkedIn, right? I built the relationship with Phil 5 years ago when he was somewhere else, right? So that's why we're here today, traces back to LinkedIn. Now I might get 30 likes on a post. For a very long time, no likes at all. But people are watching, people are listening, people are having a view. So don't focus on likes and comments. Focus on really understanding what is it that you want to be known for. What is your expertise? What is your education? What is the essence of you? What's your personality? What do you want to share? What do you believe in? Share that online, okay? People will see it, and that will get you clients. So example is Kevin, my client Kevin. He decided to niche in kitchens and bathrooms, kitchen, bathroom, bedroom fitters, I think KBB businesses, right? And he only had 1 or 2 clients in this niche. He had lots of other clients as well, but he went, I'm going to go all in on that. So first of all, he started posting written content online. Didn't get a lot of traction, right? Didn't get a lot. Then he decided to do video, and he did 100 days of video challenge that ended up being a whole year of videos. Started to get traction. Then he saw me do my podcast, which started to get traction. So he went, you know what, I'm going to copy and do a podcast, right? Now he is running a summit for everybody in his profession, getting the best keynote speakers. This journey's taken about 2 years. He could have said, do you know what, my written content's not getting traction, okay? But all of it was a learning journey for him. He was getting better and better and better. And as he got better, more and more opportunities came to him. He got 1 client through his podcast that I think was worth, I want to say about 45K. I might be fibbing there, but I feel like it was like 45K for a year's worth of work through listening to his podcast. They'd never seen any of his stuff before, but they stumbled across his podcast. If he'd given up writing on LinkedIn because he said marketing's too hard, he never would have got this client. So where you need to be is not where you are now. So you've got to start at the beginning, okay? You've got to start with putting your toe in the water and taking action. And getting better and better. Does that help? Is this useful, guys? Let us know in the chat box. What's like a takeaway from what I've said today?
Yeah, I mean, there is another question that's come in. Is too much reliance on AI dangerous?
Great question. What are you relying on AI for? Do you know what? I think I've got more stupid since AI has been around, because I don't even Google anything now. I just ask AI to do thinking. I don't think AI is dangerous. I think if we use it as a tool to enhance our expertise, AI is dangerous for compliance. And I'm saying that with love, because it will take over. You can program it, you can have bots, you can do all of that. A lot of the compliance work is going to disintegrate and kind of be taken over by technology. What I would 100% say is that we always need connection, and we always need people. And unless we're a monk or a hermit, we will need to speak to people, and AI can't do that. And if we think about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, we need community, we need to be sociable, we need to feel loved, we need to feel cared for. That's what a business advisor is there for. So it won't, AI might take over compliance. I think it might, but it definitely won't take over advisory, because we need that personal connection. We need it.
That's a differentiator, isn't it?
Yeah. We can't just have AI and live with our dogs, although that's quite an appealing thing, right? Like that sounds
quite appealing, actually, for you and I.
But it's very easy to underestimate the power of connection. And even like this Zoom conversation is great, Steph, but we would take it to a whole nother level if we were all in a room together. That collective energy would lift the room up. And I think that we need to see a massive shift back to offline from online. And whilst this is great, this would be so much more powerful if we had a live event and people were in the room. And it's not about,
Amanda, you know that.
yeah. It's not about the content. It's about how you make people feel. And people come to you because they have a problem. They'll stay with you for community.
Yeah. Jordan's put a nice comment. I've been very active, Jordan. Thank you very much. Like you say, AI can't always consider someone's personal circumstances to underpin the right advice. 100%.
Yeah, absolutely. And it can be used to streamline processes. And sometimes I get stuck, right? So I have ideas. I do everything around models. I think everything around models. Sometimes I'll get stuck and I'll be like, actually, can you just give me a hint or give me a word, because my brain is stuck. So where I used to use a thesaurus, I now type into ChatGPT and I say, can you give me 50 different words that mean this? And like, that's super. Which one do you think is the best word? It will tell me. No, I disagree with you. I make that decision. Or like I use ChatGPT and Claude. I don't know if you've heard of Claude, but if I don't like Claude's answer, I'll go to chat, and chat's much friendlier, much more uplifting. So yeah, we're having a relationship with these AI computers, but we can't properly touch, give hugs. And I know that a lot of us don't like hugs, but actually the power of touch is what heals people. And that's why advisory and being like face to face with people is still very important.
Yeah, and like people are going to really trust a person. Like, yes, you can find information via AI, but you can't be 100% certain that it's correct and accurate. So that's, it's never
And
going to.
AI has only taken stuff off the internet, and anyone can put anything on the internet, right?
Yeah, that is scary, isn't it?
Yeah.
Actually, something that came out of the questions that were submitted in advance, which we haven't actually touched on. So I hope you don't mind me throwing this in. So thinking about, people being, skills and training. So like you were saying earlier, this is a tough thing for people to kind of get comfortable with.
Yeah.
And it will have an impact on employees and new people coming into the business. So, is there any advice you have on like upskilling, providing training, or, maybe bringing someone external in like yourself to, help shape things up and get people, at a level that everyone's comfortable with?
Yeah, I 100% believe that the skill that advisors need that don't get most of the time is the soft skills. So, what we do at the Business Advisor Academy is we work on all of your knowledge, but we also train you on how to have conversations. So, I'll give you an example now. I don't know if anyone here has heard of PAC, which is Parent, Adult, Child. Have you ever heard of that at all? It's a transformational psychological thing, right? Okay, don't know completely, but I'm not a psychologist. But when we are in advisory, when we're doing advisory, what we find is we either sit in parent, adult, or child, and our clients sit in parent, adult, or child. So when we come to an advisory conversation, we want to be an adult to adult and have a conversation with two adults. However, what a lot of people do is they move into parent. So you're an advisor and you're like, oh, I told you you should have done your homework. And your client will go, oh, I'm really sorry. That's really annoying. I'm really sorry. And they move into into child. And then we have this big problem between parent and child. So what we do at the academy is teach you to have an adult to adult conversation, be a leader, and actually be able to hold a room in a way where there's mutual respect. And I think that that's what one of the really big problems is with advisory, is everybody's out there going, this is how you do a business plan. This is how you do that. That's great, but that's absolutely pointless if you don't know how to be a leader, if you don't know how to have an adult conversation, if you don't know how to be confident and hold your own, and also how to help people actually come to their own conclusions. How do you have a conversation where you get a client go, actually, I'm going to get that work to you by next week, and it be their choice rather than you parent them and nag them and tell them to do it. So I think that that's really key. And that's where I would start very much is, yes, productize your offering. Yes, get your tools and your templates and everything. But if you haven't got those soft skills, you're going to be stuffed unless you're naturally gifted.
Yeah. Jill's put a nice comment in here. Well, is there any additional training out there for us introvert back office accountants who are terrified at the prospect of advising clients to gain confidence? So we've spoken a little bit about that there. And she says she's loving the webinar, which I always love to hear. So thanks very much, Jill.
Thank you. Yeah, so Jill, it's almost like you were planted, and I'm sorry, do you know what I mean? It's like, that's awesome. Can I share you? I'm going to share this with you, which Steph has already said I can. So I'd love to offer you a free copy of the Business Advisor Playbook. All right. And you can get the PDF version of it completely free. If you want to buy the hard copy, it's on Amazon, but get the PDF version. And the reason why I say that is because I also have a podcast that goes alongside it, the Business Advisor podcast. And if you get a copy of the book, so if it's Amanda's new book, can I put that in the chat? Is that okay, Steph? Is that all right for me to do that? And then people can have a click on it and you can fill it out. But if you go and get a copy of that and you listen to my podcast, I can guarantee for those of you who are nervous, scared, not sure what's happening, you're going to get enough clarity that's going to give you the confidence to go, you can do this. And I've had people read my book and listen to my podcast and become business advisors, right? It's step by step. I don't hold anything back. This is what you're setting up. This is how to do it. In there, I think it's chapter 11 is how to have an advisory conversation. We use something called the GROW model. It's how to have and I do step by step. This is how to have an advisory conversation. It's all there, Jill. One thing I would say, right? I'm an introvert. Don't leave my house very often. Not very good in groups of people. I'm so passionate about this that I come across as an extrovert when I'm talking about it. Find something you're passionate about. You can talk to high heaven about it. An introvert is about preserving your energy. So after this, I'm going to go lie down for an hour because I'll be exhausted, but I have brought passion to it because I'm so excited about it. All right. So don't let your introvertness I've got some stuff on introvert stuff in the book. Don't let your introvertness stop you, because it doesn't mean that you're going to be a bad advisor. It probably means you're going to be a better one because you're a better listener, not just a talker. Introverts are great listeners.
Well, that's a perfect way to close off. So we've had you for an hour. Thank you so much for your engagement. Great to hear that you've enjoyed the content today. We're hoping to work with Amanda again, so stay tuned. We do have our own customer conference at the end of the year, which I'm trying to get Amanda to, because I'd love to do it more of an in-person workshop, like you say, Amanda, and get people in a room together and bouncing ideas off each other. So stay tuned, more to come. But thank you so much, Amanda. I always love chatting to you. So thank you for your time, and thank you for all the really great hints and tips today. And yeah, I guess we will hopefully see you all on the next one. So thank you so much.
Thanks, guys. I'll see you soon. Take care. Thanks for having me.
Bye.